Welcome to the Security Café Podcast.
Welcome to this special Security Café. Today I have gathered for you two of my favorite brains. Sitting to my left, equal parts strategist, professional mythbuster and cyber geek Koen Maris. He has the rare truth, talent turning cyber from abstract fear into something you can actually understand. And then immediately start worrying about it again. For the right reasons this time. Then to my right, regular storyteller and guest in the Security Café. He looks calmly at complex security problems, slightly judgmental, but always with good cause and focused to resolve.
And I have decided not to talk too much today.
Yeah, I'll keep you to that, or try to. Today's topic, Mythos. The stories, half-truths, straight up nonsense, what to do now and what to leave in the backlog. Gents, thanks for joining. And Koen, first question, a truth and a piece of nonsense about Mythos, please.
Well, I think the first truth is we don't know anything. We just have to read about it and try to believe it or not and make up our mind. And yeah, we see biased messages combined with opposite sides and those that are believing it. That's definitely a truth. And what was the other
piece
part?
Of nonsense.
Piece of nonsense. Well, a piece of nonsense is that people think that it will change revolutionary the world. I think we already live in the situation today with Opus 4.6. It takes 5 days to create an exploit. If tomorrow it takes 20 hours, what's the difference for companies?
And I got news for you. Opus 4.7 has been live since Monday. And it's capable already of doing all these vulnerability things, probably at less speed than the Mythos will be, but it's already capable of doing that.
So nothing changed.
And Koen, let's be honest, we've been seeing the hacker community using their own LLMs, their own code misconfiguration tools since more than a year, haven't we?
Yeah, exactly.
And they've been using it all day long, every day. Only what changes, yeah, Menno. And this is the important bit. What will really change? It's now becoming in the hands of people who doesn't necessarily have the skills. Yeah. So I'm playing with cloud. I have to say cloud now for a couple of weeks. Yeah. And I've even bought a subscription now because I like it. Yeah. Right. I like what it does. It builds tools for you. So if you go to Gemini and you say, I need a solution for that, it searches the internet and it comes back with a couple of things that
existing
probably work.
Yes.
Yeah. And if I do the same with Claude, it comes back and it really asks me, I can search on the internet for you, or do you want me to build something for you?
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've tested that actually already because we released our latest podcast yesterday.
Yeah.
And it took a little bit longer because before we could release that one. There was a reason for that. This microphone, which is now fixed, yeah, you can see that all. The cable was loose before we started recording, yeah, and therefore there was no audio coming from this mic. I've used something that I built together with Cloud 4.6 still to solve that. It separated the audio. Now, this has nothing to do with Mythos, but it shows you the capabilities it has. Yeah.
So getting into the hands of people who are not expert in a certain area, that's
exactly
what your point. But what does that mean then for cybersecurity and for all these companies worrying about and asking their cyber partners and specialists what to worry about Mythos or what not to do?
So shall I give the honest Quint type view, the non-political one?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So what will change if you don't have your? Let me be really straight. I'm going to look in the camera or in that camera. I don't mind. If you look well to me, what I'm saying. If you currently don't have your house in order, yeah, from a cyber hygiene perspective, you will have a problem. But you probably have that today as well. But it is not that visible, yeah, to you. Koen, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest difference. If Mythos will one day become effective in the arms race of protecting your environment, it will create a lot more visibility because there will be probably a flood of vulnerabilities coming at you, which you need to patch urgently. And especially because of the hype around it today, it creates a lot of attention on all levels of the organization, where prior...
Which I think is a
LLM
good sign, right?
It is a good sign, of course, but we need to be careful that we are not following those that are panicking. We need to stay cool as well. It will stretch, of course, the threat landscape, but let's be honest, if you can build it in 5 days today, what do these 4 extra days today make it different than the 20 hours of Mythos? To be honest, nothing, because we're still in the cycle of Patch Tuesday.
Exactly.
Patch Tuesday is gone. It's every day now, even on Sunday and on Christmas Day. So that's the biggest difference that I see coming. 24-hour cycles of patching, perhaps, live patching, things like that. And companies are not ready, especially because of legacy.
So because of that, because you're touching or highlighting a very, very important point, and which is typically not coming from me, but from an operational perspective, I would say that has a lot of impact, right? Because you probably have contracts with your third parties, and in all those contracts, there's response times for your patching. You'll have to do testing and all these things. We can throw it in the garbage can, I think. I think this is the part that everyone who runs a company from a security perspective needs to start preparing. Look into your third-party landscape. What agreements do I have in place, and will they still work for, let's say half August when Mythos comes live? I think that is one very important aspect as well, that organizations will need to look into. Really about, do I still have the right contracts in place for what this is going to change from a pace perspective?
So third-party landscape, getting it more under control.
And this is not necessarily a security but it's really talking about the basic principles of what you have agreed with your vendors.
Exactly,
If you currently have an old contract because you are with the same vendor because you like them for more than 20 years, and you've been decided you want to stay loyal to them, there probably is a clause around patch management in there and release management and all those ITIL statements that will probably say, we will implement a patch for you within 90 days or longer even, Those clauses you're going to have to re-evaluate and renegotiate with your third parties, because what you want is that you have the troops available to do the things you need to do when you need to do them. Exactly. And this goes also into the area of incident response, because I look back at I'm a 90s kid, I had my youth in the 90s, that means I'm approaching 50 this year, and that
we
means,
feel for you,
and that means that I was there when we all entered the internet, and then the first internet worms came, worm viruses came. For me, this feels the same thing, but then of course in a whole lot of different impact level. In principle, what we have to do, I believe, is more or less the same.
Exactly. We should have done it already 20 years ago, but we didn't.
Exactly.
I think Bruce Schneier said it, and he probably said it 10, 15 years ago. We don't have a technology problem. We have an adversary problem. And I think Mythos is going to confirm that it's not Mythos or the vulnerability management solutions that we have that are the problem. It's not adequate patching. And it has been a great shield for all operational teams. You can't touch that. How many times did we hear it? And do we still hear it?
And if you touch it, the factory will stop or it will break.
Now we are in a situation, if you don't patch it, we need to throw it out or isolate it completely and you cannot connect it, etc. No, another thing is, let's be honest, all these great LLMs, their majority is based on internet data or GitHub programming languages that are available. We all know that the internet is not the most reliable source for good quality data, and GitHub isn't either. I mean, many open source projects, and I'm a strong believer in open source, are still poor quality, and I understand that because it's written by hobby people or programmers. Not everything, of course, but there is quite a big bunch of code that isn't very good quality, of course it will raise a lot of flags. But the engines are trained on that.
Yeah.
So if they give you code, you can expect that it is also mixed quality. It isn't always good code either.
No, in one of the reports that I've been reading, it's actually stating, and I can't remember which one it was, but it's stating more or less that everything open source could be vaporized in seconds. If you have. And again, let's go back to that because we're talking about a piece of code, which is a piece of software that somebody built or a machine built. Doesn't matter how it's there. Yeah, and but there's other things in your cyber defense. Yeah, that you need to take care of. So you need to make sure that you have, for instance, if you have network segmentation in place.
Yeah, let's call it zero trust too.
That will help a lot. Yeah, if you don't, it will be a nightmare if something hits you. Yeah?
But so I hear you say third-party landscape. I hear you say getting your troops ready and cyber hygiene, right? And there's a lot that's inside of these things. We talk about cyber hygiene in the Security Café in the podcast almost every time because that's the getting the basics in order. We still see a lot of clients of ours and organizations out there.
Don't name them.
That don't have a proper asset management database. I think.
But again, to me, in this world that we just described, right? It used to be if you don't know what you have, you don't know what to protect. But I go a step further now. If you don't know who you are, you don't know what to protect. Yeah. Exactly.
So, what are those things doing, and which processes are those assets then empowering or enabling to do? But again, if you don't know what you have, that's one of these key problems that we see now with Mythos or any other latest LLM. That the quickness of that thing getting breached without you knowing that it is there with certain problems, with certain backdoors and what you know all these 0 days that are in there.
So exposure management will be very important, right? Yeah. So and again, how often do we speak to a security representative of a company that basically says, I know what my assets are, and they basically tell you because I get paid only for these 2,000 machines.
Exactly.
And then you do a scan with some nice tooling, and you'll find another 40% that also belong to them, but the guy doesn't get paid for it. Yeah.
Exactly. So he's paid for the other 60%.
Exactly.
He's only paid for the 60%, and his board doesn't give him the money or whatever is missing there. I don't really mind as long as you understand that those are part of your organization as well, and that's part of your job to protect those things. And if you don't realize that, and again, it sounds stupid to a lot of people that are already doing this, but you would be amazed how often I have this conversation with people that actually look at me like I've eaten something, some sort of substance.
But I can imagine.
if you look, in essence, nothing changes. I mean, it's not the arrival of Mythos that would change your processes or whatever. You should have been doing this already.
Yeah.
And I don't really understand today why Mythos is creating such a big hype, whilst Opus 4.7 is available or 4.6
and
was
silently released, and it has already most of the capabilities, and it's live. It's live since I think Friday or Monday, and pros subscribers can already use those things. Yeah. So it's there, and you know what? Nobody, they didn't make a whole lot of noise out of this.
No, because everybody is focused on Mythos, and that's what I'm scared about today. We're looking left,
exactly,
and we forget to look right where the problem is. I think, of course, there will be a lot of changes coming, and especially on DevSecOps side, perhaps. Yeah, it brings also good things. This opportunity there gives developers a tool that is quite low level.
You don't have to buy something expensive
not
to do
expensive,
your code testing.
And you can test your own code. So let's hope that perhaps in a year from now, we can say, well, 80% of the code is now good quality.
So, and that brings me to legalization. It will help you also in the CRA Act, the Cyber Resilience Act, because you will have to do all these testings anyway. It says it in the new book.
So
exactly.
we have
I don't know which clause in the CRA that is, but you'll have to do it, and this will help you. Yeah,
absolutely.
with the state that we are now, right, in all these companies or these organizations, not having the hygiene in order, or potentially having it slightly in order but forgetting all the stuff out there that can be reached, that a company is not managing, so unmanaged assets, right? It's a timing issue, right? So we believe it's really powerful for defense, but that takes longer. Defense takes longer than the offense part, right?
Absolutely.
So we will have a time frame, and you're stating maybe it's a year. We have a time frame that's going to hurt, probably, right? Because the state that we are in now, we are not getting that resolved in a few months.
No. If I may, we live already in a compressed time at this moment because of geopolitical situations, all the tools that are already available, the number of state actors that are addressing attacks to Western countries, let's say. We live already in this time. Now, of course, we need to change the way we work. Now that we know about Mythos, we need to start preparing so that we can develop a response when needed. But it's not over after Mythos. There will be a Mythos 2.0 in X time. So we need to be adaptive as well. And we need to go through that whole cycle now. We need to test what we are capable of, how fast we can do it. And that's the biggest issue that I see. Many people are talking about it and few are doing something about it.
Exactly.
There is a saying around that with teenagers. I'm not going to mention it, but they talk a lot about some subjects and they don't do it a lot. So
I know what you mean.
So I think we're in the same situation.
We see the same thing now, because there's people who are asking, okay, what are you doing as an organization? They look at it from a supplier's point of view, in my opinion, from the wrong way, because they basically want to know, what are you doing for me? But it's not us that has to do something for you. You need to go through that exercise yourself. You're going to have to set up a task force within your internal organization that looks at all those elements that we are discussing, the third-party piece, your response capabilities, your patching capabilities. Do you have staffing? Do you have access to staffing when you need to? All the basic, simple things, you're going to have to go through that as part of your preparation. And is that because of Mythos? No. You have to do that anyway. So what Mythos does, it exposes the things that you haven't done yet.
Exactly.
And if you have, you'll probably be relatively okay. And again, that's the part where we also have to state we haven't played with it yet. I don't have access to it. You haven't got it. Menno doesn't have it. We only read what we can read. And even the people who have access to it, one says, it's not so much different to what we have today. And other people are saying, no, this will be vaporized, that will be vaporized. Things like web application firewalls, things like that, they will all be useless.
That I don't believe. I think
but that's some
negative.
papers that what people say as well. And guess what? The people that are saying that, you know who they are? They're part of the defender industry, and they make tools, and they want to sell those tools. Now probably. Again, I'm not trying to say that they're not right, because I cannot say that.
You don't know.
But what we do see, it's again a scare factor element, and I don't want to go there. If you are prepared, you are, and you have a good maturity, you will be able to deal with this as well.
Exactly.
You will learn maybe a little bit as well, here and there. And you will have to pay some learning money, as we say, But if you haven't done that preparation and your maturity is already very low, you'll pay a high price of learning money. That's what I'm sure of.
So your advice, Quint, and then I come to you with the same question. Your advice would be, take up a task force and ensure those basics are in order yesterday, right?
Set
and it's
up
a difficult
an internal
task.
work group. Let's not call it a task force. Let's definitely not call it a crisis force. Because then you're, I think, overdoing it. The crisis is really for when you got hit by something. Yeah, don't change that.
You're not hit
Keep
yet.
that. Yeah, you're
in
not.
that sense.
You have to prepare. Yeah, so start a work group, call it a task force, whatever you want. Yeah, but start working on those basic elements. Yeah,
But make it serious.
and make
Or
it
do
serious.
it, do it as one of those backlog items.
Make it serious. Do a governance board, a structure, with actual reporting to the boards, ideally, and make sure you review every week at least the progress, and who has taken certain action. And I would say, then you have still some time until it's half of August, at least you know if you're prepared, I can assure you, Koen, you probably agree. If the outcome is you're not prepared, you still have the same problem, but at least you know.
Yeah.
Because you won't be able to fix that in a month or two.
No.
And for you, Koen?
Well, I fully agree. I think time has come now not to look at audit reports
Exactly,
and try
yeah.
to fix a few things. Spring cleaning this year is a thorough spring cleaning and not the one you've been doing sloppy and quick and dirty for the past 20 years.
For compliance reasons.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Don't do it because you need to comply to whatever. And this is actually what we've been saying as an industry as well. Do you
years,
want it for resilience or do you want it for compliance?
But if we come back now, if we look at PRA, prepare, respond, adapt, we live in fragile peace. This is the clear example that you are in the prepare stage now. You have time till 20th of August.
Exactly.
And then something might happen. I don't know what either. But we are in the fragile peace moment. If you do the fragile peace moment and you use it to a maximum, your response or wartime will be very short. You will be able to respond. You've built in resilience measures, etc. If you didn't prepare well during fragile peace and you end up in war, it could be a very long war before you get out of it. When you go out of it and you have prepared well, you can start adapting because your business needs to adapt. Imagine you have tons of legacy code floating around. It needs to be replaced.
Yeah.
You can no longer use it because if it's embedded somewhere in a device, it can't be easily updated. Maybe the source code is not available anymore. Maybe the vendor doesn't even exist anymore. So you will need to look at that.
Now we love to play buzzword bingo with clients, right? And the new buzzword so the next buzzword, because of Mythos and ChatGPT 5.5, that's out now as well since this week, it's called Frontier AI, which means basically, that's the new one. That's the thing we need to talk about, not Mythos. We need to talk about Frontier AI.
Okay,
So-
yes, sir.
Yeah.
No, and that's the whole thing, right? It's not Mythos. It's the whole process around it and the timeframes we are looking
Well,
at.
what you will see is that Gemini, because Gemini released their major update beginning of the year, and it was so much more better than anything we had at that time. Yeah, that's 4 months ago, I think. Yeah. And that was so much better. Now you see all the other companies coming up with their updates. Yeah. I'll tell you already my expectation. Wait until the next version of Gemini comes. Have I seen it? No. Have I high beliefs in it? I do, yes. And I don't have stakes in Google.
You can see it already with 3.1 now available.
Yeah.
That's I
It's
believe
the same challenge, right?
So
Also
let's
for
keep-
these things,
let's
it's the
keep
same challenge.
Calling it Frontier AI, and let's take really a very good view on what it will be bringing in the next updates, because I think it's gonna be, well, a year from now. Yeah, we didn't even see automated attacks, and now we see them all day long. What will Mythos change? I tell you what it will change. And do we see already the companies that have access to Mythos? Yeah, are only American companies. Yeah, so Microsoft, Google, all the big ones, Palo Alto, name them, they all have access. Yeah. The last patch Tuesday from Microsoft. Do you know how many patches they released?
Yes. Because
And do you
told me.
also understand the pattern why that is?
Yeah.
Yeah?
It's a lot
I don't
more.
have to explain that? Okay,
Well,
good.
maybe to the listeners.
It's so normally they have like probably 10 to 20 patches every time, and now they released 250. Yeah. Do I need to repeat it? 250.
From 10 to 250.
Yeah, and you know why that is? Because these guys, they can play with these capabilities that we're just discussing. Yeah.
Which is a great move to at least give, if it's all true, right? But let's for the sake of it assume
I
that
only say follow the patterns, Neo.
It's a great move that that these bigger companies and Microsoft is one of the biggest out there in every infrastructure, right? So glad on that they
absolutely.
get to have a little bit more preparation time.
But I read a report yesterday, and that was based on the new Opus 4.7 version, that all new patch management releases are going
through the engine.
It's amazing, right? And you know what's more amazing as well, because we always talk about the negative things. People like to sell security to scare people. I hope I'm not doing that. At least I try not to. But what's also amazing, these same vendors that are part of Project Glasswing already right now, they've access to it. You know what they're doing? They're implementing Mythos engine already in their Defender tool sets as well, and they're releasing it. I saw a statement from Palo Alto this morning releasing their new frontier AI protection thing. I don't know. I've not read it completely, only the headline, but it's containing, of course, exactly that engine that we're talking about.
I think
they will use it and sell it to you to protect you.
We can say a lot about all the evolution of these engines and the capabilities, but if there's one thing that Anthropic absolutely does right, it's responsible non-disclosure.
Exactly,
I mean, everybody has enough time, and why did they choose them? We can argue it's all American companies. Let's be honest, the world runs on that technology. That's the reason they give it. I mean, these are probably the 50 biggest brands that are either in cyber or providing data centers, cloud infrastructure. They need it. I mean, that's responsible management of these findings. Otherwise, if they would have released it in the wild like this, it would be chaos.
What we will do, we'll wrap it up.
Yeah.
I think it's very clear that we are in this fragile piece, meaning we need to prepare. We need to help our clients prepare. We need to help the market prepare. All our colleagues within Atos, but also outside Atos, all the cyber professionals. Let's work together and prepare and help our industry.
Yeah.
So, Quint, you wanted to make a final statement for our colleagues.
Yeah, but because what Koen said was really good. It's about, in principle, we have enough time to prepare. Yeah, I agree with that. Unless you are one of those companies that hasn't had the chance to invest properly in cybersecurity for whatever reason, there must be reasons for it. I think you don't have enough. You won't be able to fix a maturity level below 1 in 2 months. I don't think so. Unless you're a very small company, you have only 1 employee and 1 server, you might stand a chance, but otherwise, no way.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah,
I think we are. It's a great time to be alive.
absolutely.
The only thing I find strange now, for years we've been answering questions, and now we have to question the answers. So it's a bit of funny time.
Yeah,
and it goes quick, right? A year ago, we weren't even talking. We're just talking about Gen AI. Yeah. And then agentic AI came a little bit later in the year as well, where people started talking about it. And now we're talking frontier AI. Still don't have a clue what it means, but I know what it does. Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Koen. Thanks, Menno.